Ah, Fallout. One of the greatest stories ever told in video game history. A story that answers the question, what would life be like after a nuclear war? While not completely realistic with its death claws, giant insects, super mutants, and two-headed cows, it does come with a unique style and tons of lore. One big change from our society today in the post-nuclear society of Fallout, the cars. Straight up 1950s retro futurism. Let's talk about it. Now, before we can really get into it, it would help to understand the basics of the Fallout lore. History as we know it remains the same up until about the end of World War II. That's when the Fallout timeline diverges into its own little thing. The main idea of that divergence is that instead of developing electronics like we did in the real world, they focused more on the powers of nuclear energy and other uses of radioactive material. I mean, the first known reference to the transistor, a basic and very important part of electronics, was in 2023 in the lore. For reference, the transistor was invented in 1947 in reality, so that explains the more primitive computers and abundance of nuclear technology in the game. All was well, but resources were running low globally, resulting in what was called the Resource Wars. And this was a number of worldwide wars from 2052 to 2077 based on the need of resources. What resources? All the resources, mainly oil and uranium. Considering uranium was used in just about everything in this universe, this all led to the Great War on October 23rd, 2077. The war only lasted about 2 hours, but resulted in billions of casualties and the destruction of entire countries worldwide. China launched nukes at America, and from there on out, mutually assured destruction takes over. And then that leaves us, the player, in a radioactive wasteland 75 to 200 years after the war, depending on which installment you decide to play. You get stuck in a wasteland fighting monsters and raiders, yet there's something kind of beautiful and cinematic about it all. The 1950s style dominates the buildings and cars, and boy do the cars look wild. And they're not powered by gas or diesel, at least those made after 2066. I mean, nobody wanted to spend $8,000 on a gallon of gas. They were powered by our friend nuclear fusion. You've heard of nuclear fission, that's basically splitting an atom, which is how they make nuclear bombs and how modern day nuclear power plants work. Nuclear fusion, however, is the opposite. It's the process of joining atoms together, and this reaction makes a whole fuck ton of a lot more energy. Scientists in the Fallout universe have pretty much perfected the process and have implemented it as the main source of power in the world. If you need any more proof that the cars are nuclear powered, I present to you Exhibit A. Makes you think what kind of damage getting into a little fender bender could do to you. A lot of the gas stations in the game aren't really primarily gas stations, they're rather coolant stations, as they mainly sold coolant for your car's nuclear reactor at over $100 per gallon. And gas for your older cars were over $7,000 per gallon. If we adjust for inflation in the Fallout universe, that's around $3 for coolant or $200 for gas. Still pretty wild. So the types of cars and design styles stay pretty consistent throughout the series. From the information we have, we can identify a few different car brands in the lore. There's Corvega, who was a ripoff of Chevy or Corvette. They worked under Chrysler, which may be a ripoff of Chrysler. And Fusion. And we're gonna assume that there's a few more brands out there, but these are the few that we can concretely identify. Regardless, we're gonna take a look at all of them. We're gonna mainly look at Fallout 4 since that's where we find the most information about them, and we're going to assume that the lore is consistent throughout all the games, minus Fallout Tactics. We don't talk about that game. Let us begin with the station wagon. A spacious 6 or 7-seater sedan suitable for any family, just like Nate and Nora's family, the protagonists of Fallout 4. The design mimics some styles of the old 50s, with white-walled tires, chrome accents, and even tucked rear wheels. And check out those pointy taillights. It features a bubbly glass roof, 2 trunk spaces in the rear, granted they're not exactly spacious, one on each side of the fusion reactor that powers the car, and plush red and chrome interior. It's truly a family car as it has a central bar with 4 cup holders, a tray, and a couple of storage compartments. Its main selling point was that it's the first ever family car to feature a built-in bar. Funny enough though, with all the luxuries and luxuries this thing has, it doesn't even have pedals. So we're just gonna chalk that up to lazy game designers on that one. The station wagon was said to have been on the market as early as 2067, making it one of the first fusion-powered vehicles. You can find these in a few different colors, and there's even a taxi variant somewhere out there. Probably the very first vehicle you actually see in Fallout 4 is a van, particularly a light blue Vault-Tec branded one, driven by the door-to-door salesman that gives you your special points. This one's got the familiar 50s space-age looking features with a little bit of extra utility. It's kind of silly how this van has a spot to put a license plate but doesn't actually have one, along with most other cars in the world, at least Fallout 4. These things are pretty common, and in fact some have even made them their home. The Lobster Grill family restaurant in Far Harbor happened to, for whatever reason, own an ungodly amount of these vans, which they stuck their name on. Yet now they belong to the giant hermit crabs residing on the island. Glad to see someone's making use of them. People in the 50s loved sports cars, and those in the Fallout universe are no exception. The Chrysler's Cherry Bomb looks like a weird 90s concept car. Sleek, low design, and a single bubble to see out of. What makes this one unique is it's a one-seater, and it's the only car known to be controlled with a joystick rather than a steering wheel. Its supposed goal was to break the sound barrier, and we're talking about a commercial-grade sports car here. It's even got a whole screen in the front as opposed to the classic gauge cluster. You'll probably see this Cherry Bomb in red, but you could also get it in blue, green, yellow, and black. It supposedly features a 950 horsepower atomic V8 engine, whatever that means, capable of a 0 to 60 time of 0.3 seconds, and top speeds, quote unquote, once reserved for Army space troopers. I mean, we all like fast cars here, I'm sure, but maybe, just maybe, there's such a thing as too fast. Anyway, the iconic dome is also made of flexiglass and is shatterproof, even bulletproof to an extent, which is a claim I don't have much faith in, honestly, considering you can find the cars with broken domes throughout the wasteland. With a lack of mirrors and the capability to produce enough G-force to fucking kill the driver, it baffles me that this thing is road legal. Then again, it's the Fallout universe. Anything is possible. This thing even made it to Forza 6 DLC, somehow renamed as the Rocket 69. And of course, there's nothing quite like public transit. The good old bus makes appearance in Fallout games, and they're a popular hiding spot among the local ghoul populations. Not much to see here besides an over-exaggerated 50s design style bus with a single passenger door in the middle. The Fallout world decided that they wanted small cars too, so a new class of car came out called microcars. One of these is called the Zip. Another one-seater, but this is one that makes you wonder what color dust you'll turn into when you crash head-on into a truck, let alone a squirrel. It's supposedly lightning fast, and the car of choice for commie doubles. Don't let Jeremy Clarkson near this thing, because it only has 3 wheels. Not that he would fit inside anyway. The Zip was made to compete with the other microcar we know about, the Fusion Flea. Just like the Zip, the Flea is another 3-wheeled microcar. Apparently odd-numbered wheels are in style in 2077. Unlike the Zip, however, it has just one door handle on the would-be passenger side, and I can't quite figure out if the bars on the rear are supposed to be for cargo or protection. I mean, a car that size, nothing you can really do if you get rear-ended. You're toast. I mean, if the impact don't kill you, the force of the impact will surely snap your neck due to the lack of a headrest. It even has one of those cool concept car steering wheels that don't look like steering wheels at all. If you live in modern day America, take a look around. It feels like every other vehicle on the road is a big old pickup truck. Ford F-150, Chevy Silverado, Ram 1500, and then the rest are crossovers, of course. Regardless, there's always a demand for the ability to haul big loads, and the pick-R-Up is the best commercially available option. Everyone needs a little pick-R-Up. It's got a decently long and exceptionally wide bed, yet funny enough, it's yet another one-seater vehicle. I guess you can stuff your construction crew in the bed though. The front features a badge of a radiation symbol with wings, looking a little bit like the Chrysler symbol, with a little bit of extra uranium. You can even find tow truck variants of the thing in some places. Billboards in the Commonwealth say it's all new, so I think we can assume that it was a new thing in 2076 or 77. So what were people using before this? Well, maybe a more practical version, one with 2 seats and a smaller wooden bed, more commonly found in the West and Washington, D.C. Next up is this rather rare unnamed coupe that appears in Fallout 3 and New Vegas. It takes inspiration from the style of the time, of course, but is kind of unique in that is little wings in the back of it, supposedly to make it more aerodynamic. It's a shame we don't know more about this thing. It's probably capable of powers similar to the cherry bomb if we were judging by the looks. And here we have a blue Corvega Blitz, sporting the Corvega V badge on the front. Remember that the Corvega is a sub-brand of Chrysler that even offers some construction vehicles. Unlike the one-seater beaters we just talked about, the Blitz is a family-oriented and can seat 5 people. One of the distinguishing features on this car is the diagonal front grille, a unique design choice. This is a fairly bland car, however, compared to a lot of the others, but it's probably something you'd see a lot of if you lived in Boston in 2077. There's even a different, perhaps more dated version, more common in Nevada. And there's even one on display in the front lobby of the Corvega assembly plant. Sticking with Corvega on this next entry, we'll look at the Atomic V8. Given the name, we can safely assume that the car features, well, an Atomic V8 engine, whatever that means. It's a high-performance model capable of towing boats and trailers, as we can see in a couple instances in Fallout 4. Even the police force used some of these. They were clearly a reliable and desirable car, but it has some questionable features. My biggest concern is the center line with 3 sections of windshields, the middle running higher than each side, the 6-piece rear windshield, and the skylight positioned above the rear seats. It did, however, like the station wagon, have a built-in bar running along the center of the car. Drinking and driving has never been easier. Since the police use some of these Corvegas in their fleet, might as well talk about the Nevada and California Highway Patrol fleets. These patrol cars look much more like what we would actually see in the real world. A little less of the outlandish design, Two little red emergency lights on top and the good old Fallout car trademark, an afterburner looking thing on the back. Not sure how well this thing would do chasing down the hoodlums driving cherry bombs, but at least it's something. And a little fun fact for you, there's actually two variants of the patrol car in New Vegas depending on the area. There's Nevada cars and California cars, each having their own identifying seal on the doors. Then we have perhaps the most common car throughout the West Coast, this Chrysler Highwayman sedan. If you're lucky enough to find them that's still mostly intact, you can see a big V badge on the hood, suggesting that it may be part of the Corvega line. If you were to find a running one, you'd be handling over 800 horsepower, capable of a 0 to 60 time of under 1 second. In New Vegas, there's a location called the Wrecked Highwayman. There you'll find a car sunken into the ground with some loot and a footlocker in the trunk. Which is funny because I thought that's where the fusion reactor was supposed to be. The car underwent some design changes throughout the series, so it's kind of unclear exactly how the car worked. And of course, we need some way to get our potatoes from Idaho to our local grocery stores, so there's trucks. Actually, many of the large vehicles share the same platform here, as we see multiple variations in the games like military trucks and fire trucks. Now, the fire trucks and various trucks from New Vegas aren't exactly the same as in Fallout 4, as you can see, but I'd say they're close enough to say that they're at least from the same manufacturer, just different generations of the truck perhaps, or at the very least they're meant to be the same thing, but it underwent some design changes in Fallout 4. In addition, there's also the fire truck from Fallout 76 set in West Virginia. This one doesn't quite share the designs of any of the other vehicles in the game, so this is an interesting one. It's actually based off of a Soviet fire truck / artillery truck called the MAZ 7310 series. Was this just laziness from the design team from Fallout 76? Did West Virginia turn communist? Did the Soviet Union and America find some common ground? I'm still unsure whether to call this fire truck lore friendly or not. Perhaps an answer will be revealed in Fallout 5. What would a warm, sunny spring day be if it weren't for our two-wheeled friends, motorcycles? In the Commonwealth and Appalachia, it's not that uncommon to find motorcycles conveniently named the Lone Wanderer with the slogan, "Leave work behind." The motorcycles in Fallout 3 and New Vegas have similar design features, but they are different in fact. I would assume they're just different models from the same manufacturer, and considering there's no nuclear explosions when you shoot one, we can assume that these recreational vehicles are still gas-powered. And of course, there's the infamous Death Car in Prem, Nevada. The car was once owned by the fourth or maybe a fifth most infamous crime couple ever, Vicky and Vance. One could argue that they were the inspiration for the even more infamous Bonnie and Clyde, as they began their crime spree just before them. They defied the law in a series of check frauds, gas pump drive-offs, and reckless driving, and the likes until their untimely demise in 1934, when they accidentally drove into a shootout between the police and a gang of bank robbers. Vicky and Vance and the driver's side of their car were subsequently turned into Swiss cheese. The car was mostly based off of a 1934 Ford Deluxe V8, whatever the Fallout universe version of that may be. It's interesting to me. They say the timeline in this universe diverged around 1945, but this pre-1940s vehicle is different from the real thing. And with the Vicky and Vance mobile, that about does it for the cars in the Fallout universe, at least for the first-person style games. It's a very interesting thing to look at, an alternate timeline of cars and all that. Definitely some cool cars in Fallout, but maybe they should have toned down the power on some of them. I mean, it hurts to say that, but Jesus Christ, they're fast. Makes me wonder about the future of cars in real life. I mean, when will we move on from electric cars to fusion powered cars? I mean, there have been concepts in the 50s for that type of thing, and I don't know. Time will tell. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this neat little bit of research I did. Let me know what kind of content you want to see next. I love putting these videos out for you guys, and I love doing the research and learning new stuff. And with that, I will see you all later.